Welcome back, fans, to my GH Fans channel. Joe Fitzpatrick may be the real Nathan, and Phoebe may be the secret that breaks Port Charles open. A dead man may be walking back into Port Charles under a borrowed name, and in my opinion, the most dangerous evidence against Cassius may not be a document, a witness, or a hidden file. It may be a child. I think Joe Fitzpatrick's arrival is not just another mysterious entrance. The storyline shows that his presence could be the beginning of a much larger identity crisis, one that may expose years of manipulation, stolen family bonds, and a truth that has been buried beneath another man's face. This is just my interpretation, and I could be wrong, but I feel the narrative is pointing toward one shocking possibility. Joe Fitzpatrick may actually be the real Nathan West. And if that is true, then baby Phoebe may not simply be a child caught in the middle of an adoption story. She may be Nathan's secret daughter, the missing link that could destroy Cassius's false identity. The episode highlights the importance of timing. Joe does not appear to enter Port Charles like a man who wants instant attention. He does not seem positioned as someone rushing to reveal himself, demand answers, or reclaim everything in one dramatic public scene. Instead, the narrative focuses on restraint. That restraint matters. A character who knows too much but says too little often creates more tension than a character who arrives shouting the truth. In my opinion, Joe's silence suggests strategy. If Joe is truly Nathan, then he may understand that truth alone is not enough. Port Charles is a place where memory can be questioned, evidence can disappear, and emotional history can be weaponized. This situation reflects a classic soap structure, where identity is not only about DNA or its appearance, but also about who controls the story. Cassius may have controlled that story for years. Joe may now be trying to take it back. The character is portrayed as someone who may be observing before acting. That detail feels important to me because it suggests fear, discipline, and experience. If Joe were simply a random newcomer from Ireland, his mystery would still have value, but it would not carry the same emotional weight. If he is Nathan, then every quiet look, every careful question, and every controlled reaction becomes loaded with meaning. He would not just be entering Port Charles. He would be returning to a life that was stolen from him. The storyline shows that Cassius may have used a resemblance between twin brothers as his greatest weapon. I think this is where the plot becomes especially disturbing. A twin switch is not just a physical deception. It is an emotional invasion. If Cassius took Nathan's name, place, relationships, and public identity, then he did not merely pretend to be someone else. He erased someone else in order to survive or gain power. This development suggests that Nathan's loss was not only physical, it was social, legal, and deeply personal. The narrative appears to frame Joe as a man who has lived under a false name because someone else forced that identity onto him. That changes the meaning of Joe Fitzpatrick. The name may not be a fresh start. It may be a cage. I feel that the most painful part of this possible twist is not that Nathan has been hidden. It is that he may have been forced to watch pieces of his own life move on without him. James grew up without him. People mourned him. Relationships changed. And if Phoebe is his daughter, then another child may have been kept from him too. This suggests a revenge story, but not a simple one. I do not think Joe's possible revenge is being framed as pure anger. The storyline appears to be setting up something more controlled. Joe may not want to attack Cassius directly because he knows Cassius may be too skilled at manipulation. Instead, Joe may be gathering proof. This reflects a character who understands that emotional truth must become legal truth before it can protect anyone. The episode highlights the danger of coming forward too soon. If Joe tells everyone he is Nathan without evidence, Cassius could easily twist the situation. He could accuse Joe of being unstable, fraudulent, or opportunistic. He could use Nathan's own history against him. This development could influence how characters respond, especially those who have already been emotionally damaged by years of secrets. In Port Charles, people rarely believe the truth just because it sounds painful. They believe it when the evidence becomes impossible to ignore. That is why Phoebe may be the most important part of this storyline. In my opinion, the baby is not just a sentimental element. She may be the structural key to the entire plot. The narrative focuses on Chase and Brooke Lynn bonding with Phoebe, and that choice creates emotional stakes before the biological truth is even revealed. If Phoebe were introduced only as Nathan's secret daughter, the audience might immediately focus on Nathan's loss. But by placing her first in Chase and Brooke Lynn's care, the story creates a more painful triangle. This situation reflects the strongest kind of soap conflict. Everyone can be sympathetic, and everyone can still be hurt. Chase and Brooke Lynn may truly love Phoebe. Their attachment is not fake. The storyline shows that they are becoming emotionally invested in the child, possibly seeing her as part of their future. At the same time, if Joe is Nathan and Phoebe is his daughter, then he may also have a legitimate emotional and biological claim. That does not make Chase and Brooke Lynn villains. It makes the conflict tragic. I think Brooke Lynn's role could become especially complicated. The character may be portrayed as someone torn between love and moral awareness. On one side, she may want to protect the child she has cared for. On the other side, she may understand that Nathan, if he is the father, was also robbed. This suggests a future where Brooke Lynn's pain may not come from losing a child to a stranger, but from realizing that the stranger is actually another victim. The storyline also gives social services a major narrative purpose. Their search for Phoebe's living relatives may seem procedural at first, but I feel it may be the thread that pulls the entire deception apart. If Phoebe's records were altered, hidden, or manipulated, then the search for family becomes more than paperwork. It becomes an investigation into the past. This development suggests that Cassius may have taken steps to erase Phoebe's connection to Nathan before anyone could discover it. The mention of Delilah Wilson adds another emotional layer. The character is portrayed as a young mother who died after giving birth, and that tragedy may hold the missing truth. If Delilah knew Nathan's real identity, or if she knew enough to connect him to Phoebe, then her death leaves behind a silence that others may exploit. I could be wrong, but I think the storyline may use Delilah as a posthumous witness. She may have left behind a clue, a document, a message, or a name that someone intercepted. This suggests that Phoebe's origin story may not be accidental. Her placement, her missing relatives, and the uncertainty around her father may all connect back to Cassius's deception. If Cassius knew Phoebe existed, he may have understood that she was dangerous. A child can carry biological truth that lies cannot easily erase. In that sense, Phoebe may represent the one piece of evidence Cassius cannot rewrite. The narrative focuses heavily on identity, but I think the deeper theme is stolen parenthood. Nathan may have lost James because his identity was taken from him. If Phoebe is also his child, then the theft becomes even more devastating. He did not simply lose a name. He may have lost years of fatherhood, memories, first words, first steps, and the right to know his children existed. This reflects a kind of loss that is harder to repair than legal paperwork. The possible reunion with James would already be emotional. James represents the life Nathan was supposed to have. But Phoebe would create a second emotional explosion. She would not only expand Nathan's family, she would expose the scale of Cassius's actions. If one child was taken from Nathan through circumstance, and another was hidden through manipulation, then the storyline may be building toward a full moral reckoning. I feel Cassius's next move would likely involve confusion. The character may not be able to defeat Joe with truth, so he may try to defeat him with doubt. This development could influence the way Port Charles reacts to Joe. Cassius may claim Joe is the imposter. He may suggest Joe is mentally unstable or motivated by revenge. He may create false evidence or exploit gaps in Joe's story. The narrative appears to be setting up Cassius as someone who survives by controlling perception. But I think Cassius's weakness may be that he has built his life on a lie that depends on everyone else staying separated. Once Joe, James, Phoebe, and the hidden records begin to connect, Cassius's power may weaken. The storyline shows that deception works best when each person has only one piece of the puzzle. When those pieces come together, the lie becomes harder to maintain. DNA evidence could become a turning point, but I do not think the story would rely only on science. In a narrative sense, DNA may prove the blood connection, but emotional recognition may prove the character connection. People may begin noticing things about Joe that feel familiar. His reactions to James, his instinct around Phoebe, his knowledge of Nathan's past, or his inability to hide certain emotions may all suggest who he really is before the formal proof arrives. This is why I find Joe's possible restraint so compelling. If he is Nathan, then every moment he stays silent costs him something. He may see his son without being able to reveal himself. He may see Phoebe cared for by others while suspecting she is his child. He may watch Cassius continue to move freely. This indicates a man who is not only seeking revenge, but also trying to protect the case from collapsing too early. The episode highlights a potential contrast between emotional truth and public truth. Joe may know who he is, but Port Charles may not. Cassius may know what he has done, but others may still trust him. Chase and Brooklyn may know they love Phoebe, but they may not know where she truly belongs. This situation reflects the kind of dramatic structure where every character is acting from incomplete information. In my opinion, the most painful outcome would not be a simple custody battle. It would be a moral test. Chase and Brooklyn may have to decide whether love means holding on or letting the truth guide them. Nathan may have to decide whether reclaiming his child means respecting the bond Phoebe has already formed with them. This development could influence all three adults in ways that are emotionally complex rather than one-sided. I also think the storyline may be preparing Joe for a public reveal that feels earned. He may not simply walk into a room and announce that Joe Fitzpatrick never existed. Instead, the show may build toward a moment where Cassius is cornered by evidence, relationships, and biological proof. At that point, Joe's identity would not feel like a random twist. It would feel like the answer the story has been quietly building toward. The character of Cassius may become more dangerous as the truth approaches. This suggests that Joe's investigation may place him, Phoebe, and possibly James at risk. If Cassius believes Phoebe can expose him, he may try to control access to her records or influence the people around her. He may also try to turn Chase and Brooklyn's fear of losing Phoebe against Joe. That kind of manipulation would fit a character who survives by dividing people before they can compare what they know. Still, I feel the story's emotional center belongs to Nathan. If Joe is truly Nathan, then his return is not only about punishment, it is about restoration. He may want Cassius in prison, but the deeper goal may be to recover the life that was taken. That includes his name, his reputation, and his children. The storyline appears to be setting up a man who is done begging people to believe him. He may arrive with proof, because he has learned that truth without protection can be destroyed. This is just my interpretation, and I could be wrong. But I think Joe Fitzpatrick's name may eventually disappear from the story in a symbolic way. Not because the character leaves, but because the mask is no longer needed. Joe may be the identity Nathan used to survive. Nathan West may be the identity he returns to claim. The narrative focuses on a powerful possibility. The man thought to be gone may have been alive all along, hidden behind another name while another brother took his place. Phoebe may be the secret that turns suspicion into proof. James may be the emotional wound that reminds everyone what Nathan lost. Chase and Brooklyn may become the innocent caregivers caught in the blast of a truth they never created. In my opinion, that is what makes this potential storyline so effective. It is not shocking only because Joe may be Nathan. It is shocking because Nathan's return would force nearly every character involved to confront what love, identity, and family mean when the past has been forged. Port Charles may not simply witness a man reclaiming his name. It may witness a father reclaiming the children he never stopped belonging to, even if he did not know one of them existed. And if Phoebe truly is Nathan's daughter, then Cassius's entire deception may collapse around the smallest person in the room. That to me is the strongest kind of twist. Not loud at first, not obvious at first, but devastating once every hidden piece finally connects.